Okay, hello everyone. It's great to have you all on board. It's another time with tutorial, the teacher 6 years old, and in today's tutorial, it happens to be the continuation of the course POL322, and according to the thumbnail, we're going to be taking our bearing from institutions of federalism. For those of us who are new to the stream, let's ensure to subscribe to the channel, very important. Let's also ensure to smash the like button, turn on the notification icon, the notification bell. You can get notification from YouTube once we are online. So for those of us who haven't joined the private class yet, it might as well interest you to join the private class, as it is highly essential. How do you become a member of the private class? All you need to do is to reach out to us on our official website, which is www.tutorhire.net. Find the WhatsApp button at the top right-hand corner. Use that to send us a direct message, and we'll be happy to have you on board. With this being said, let's hop straight into today's class. According to the thumbnail, it says Institute of Federalism. So very quickly, I'm going to be going through those institutes that make federalism works. Institute put in place deliberately to ensure federalism becomes a success. Okay, now to start with, basically there are three institutions. When we talk of federalism, we have three functioning, effective, all right, institutions that makes federalism what it is. And these institutions are the executive, pretty sure we institutions we must have heard of at one point or the other. So without further ado, let's hop straight into things. The executive, we have the judiciary, and we have the leg. Now this is one course I expect nothing less than A or B from every one of us who has been privileged, all right, who has been with us on this particular course, right? It's one course I'm expecting to take advantage of every of the resource you can lay your hand on as far as this course is concerned, and give it your best so you can come out with a flying color in this course. So now, speaking of federalism, the institutions of federalism, like I said earlier, there are basically three of them. These three are executive, judiciary, and the legislators. Now, or legislative. Now, speaking of the executive, please, my interest you to try avoid any distractions, because I'll be doing more of explanation and less of writing. So I need you to please pay detailed attention to everything I'll be saying, to the sound of my voice. Now, speaking of the executive, this is one of the essential arms of government. It's one of the essential arms of government. So we can call this institution of federalism arms of government. So, but eventually, this wasn't used. Okay. All right. So questions might come out like, what are the arms of government in Nigeria? List, explain them in details. All right. And questions can come out like, what are the institutions of federalism? list and explain. Right? Either way, you know that we are talking about the same thing here. All right. So now, speaking of this, the executive happens to be one of the important, all right, essential arms of government. The executive is well known for giving direction, all right, to government policies. All right. The executive is known responsible for giving direction to government policies and also charged with the responsibility of those policies. It is upon the shoulder of the executive to give direction, to give meaning. One thing I love about this level is that you have the liberty to give, to make up your own definitions, in as much as you are not speaking out of line, or you are not writing or defining terms garbage in and garbage out. It's different here. It's an open-ended system. All right. So you get to give your own definitions, and that's why I keep saying try understanding the concept. With the help of understanding the concept, you can come up with something. All right. So speaking of the executive, right, gives direction to the government policies. So let's just okay. That was the thing from the service provider. I think we are live now. So like I said, they are charged with the responsibility of giving meaning, all right, and direction to the government policies. Also, they are responsible for the implementation of these policies as well. Now, it functions by closely, all right, the executive functions by working closely with other arms or government. And why does the executive have to work closely with the other arms? Is because they need to realize the objective of the state. They don't create it. Okay? Are we getting the details now? They don't get to create. There's the other body that creates, that is charged with responsibility of creating. As far as the executive is concerned, they don't get to create. So because of this, they need to work closely. They need to work hand in hand with the other bodies. All right? Because you don't get to implement, you don't get to give direction, you don't get to give meaning to a concept, to the policy, or to the objective you have not comprehended properly, or you've not comprehended properly, right? So they need to work closely with the other bodies in order to get the sole purpose behind every objective. So the implementation would not be on costly assumptions. All right. So we have that as that. Now, the structure and working process of the executive is, however, determined by the system of government in operation. Yes, very true. It depends on the system of government in operation that determines the structure of the executive. All right. So we have that on the executive. Some of the structures of the executive are they give assent to bills. All right. They pass executive bills to the legislature. Like we said, they don't get to create. Okay. So we have that is that. And we have basically there are types of executives. Okay. We have different types of the executive. Okay. To just to say something on that, let's bring it further. So under the types, we have the real and the nominal. All right. We have the real, or I beg your pardon, not and. as real or nominal. Now, speaking about the real executive, it is that which exercise substantial power. The real or nominal executive Okay, so under the executive, we have the real, the nominal, the single, all right, and we have the presidential system, all right, which is where we have the plural, okay? We have the single, we have the plural. I think I should include that here. And we have the cabinet for the real, okay? For the real, Now, for the real, we have for the real executive, it's a situation whereby the substantive power, all right, absolute power is being exercised, all right, is being exercised by the elected, all right. So for the nominal, it's not the same, all right. For the nominal, it's a little bit different compared to the real executive. Now, speaking of the real executive, the substantive power as dictated by the constitution is being wielded by the executive. Okay, it is within the office of the real executive that the power of the actual executive control and administration of the country resides. So it's not a thing of the judiciary or the legislature. The executive controls, they determine. The executive gets to create as far as the real executive is concerned. Like it says, the substantive power as dictated by the constitution is being wielded by the executive. Our time is fast spent. All right. And I wanted us to cover judiciary and legislature, but okay, I think we can do that. Let's see how we can quickly cover things. Now, so for the real, the executive wields the substantive, all right, wields absolute power as determined by the constitution. Okay, but when it comes to nominal, the executive does not get to wield the power, the substantive power. The only thing they do, or the only thing the executive is permitted to do, is just ceremonial functions. Okay, then we move to single executive. Here, it is not a thing of a body. Now, it's a thing of an individual, a person known as the president. He wields the absolute power. All right, he wields the substantive. All right, he wields the substantive power as far as the constitution has decided. All right, then we have the plural, which is more of the this single or plural executive. For the single, the individual does it. All right, it is the one that does the deciding. But when it comes to the presidential system, which is the plural, there is a ceremonial head and there is an administrative head. All right, it's a thing of more of the prime minister and the president. All right, where one gets to be the ceremonial head and the other gets to be the administrative head. That is for the plural executive, which works with the presidential system of government. Then we have the all right, and in that case, we have the president and the commander in chief of armed forces. Are we together? That goes well for the plural executive. Now we also have the cabinet system. For the cabinet system, it's a combination of this plural and the single. All right, it's the combination. Here we separated it. Here we have either it's an individual or we have two individuals, one being the ceremonial head and one being the administrative head. But as far as the cabinet system is concerned, it's the combination of both. Are we together? Cabinet system of government is a combination of both the single and the plural executive, while the prime minister, all right, operates. So remember we said the plural here, where we have the president and the prime minister. So the president gets to be the ceremonial head, and the prime minister gets to make certain decisions, administrative head. All right, but as far as the cabinet system is concerned, the combination of both single and plural executive exists. While the prime minister operates on the principle of single executive, the member of cabinet follow principles of plural executive. So now under this cabinet now, it is more of the prime minister and the members of the cabinet. So the member of the cabinet now act as a ceremonial head according to what we have here. The prime minister operates as a principle of executive, all right, single executive, who gets to what? Will the substantive power. Then the member of the cabinet gets to what? The plural, that's the, gets to work in line with the plural principle, all right, which is a principle, the plural principle of the executive. So it's more of a combination of both into one. So now let's head straight to our time is fast spent. I'll be the next class pretty soon. So let's head straight for judiciary. Now for judiciary, all right, just like we all know, they are in charge, all right, of the dispensation of justice in any state. That's the last, the how do we say this? That's the common man's paradise. All right, the common man's aid. That's, you know, that's the only place the common man can get to be acknowledged by the law. And if it's compromised, it's a living hell. Okay, so basically the judiciary are very important as a help. That's their responsibility. They are to dispense the law, right? Irrespective of who you are. You have to, if you kick against the law, you have to face the wrath of the law. And it is their responsibility to ensure that they dispense, according to what we have here, dispensation of justice in any state. And lastly, we have the legislature. They get to make, all right? They get to determine, in as much as they put into consideration the efforts of the executive and judiciary, but solely their responsibility is to, all right, to make. And what do they make? They are responsible for a main function is to law is the main function of the legislature is lawmaking, law amendment, and law and the repealing. All right, the review. It's their responsibility to review as well. So they make, they amend, and they also repeal the law. So we have that. So some of their functions are on finance. All right, they control. They have the control over the government's budget. All right, legislature. All right, the legislature, I mean to say, have has control over the government's budget. They are empowered to assent to the revenue and expenditure of the government. They get to determine. You don't get to spend much. How much you get to spend is how you get to spend it. And other oversight functions as well. It's not just the making of law, the amendment, and the repealing of law. They also have other functions like other oversight functions. All right, it involves various activities concerning the running of the state. Take for instance, they must be involved on issues concerning the declaration of war. the declaration of emergency in any part of the state. Okay, so we have that as that. They also have judicial functions as well. They sit over the impeachment. All right, if a president is unruly, they sit over his impeachment as well. So we have that as that. So in our next class, I want us to talk. We'll be talking about the terms and concepts in federalism. This week, we are going to call it wrap of this course, so you don't want to miss out on anything. This week, unfailingly. So by next week, we can take some other course because I really want us to be done with all the courses before the timetable is released, so we can have enough time to do our Telegram classes well, to do our revision classes well. And that's why I keep saying, if you haven't joined the private class yet, I will encourage you to join now. People in the private class are already getting their keynotes and they are using that to prepare ahead. So it's not going to be a thing of rushing through it when it comes to the exam era, close to the exam time. So thank you very much, everyone. We'll take it up from intergovernmental relations in our next class. Do have a wonderful evening and bye for now.